I always had this fear of missing out on New York City because, especially as an artist or maybe as a stand-up comedian, is that you feel like if you don't have your hand on the pulse of New York City, you feel like, ah, man, I might be missing out or distraction, or I don't know if if I'm missing out on any opportunities. And just going back to New York City after living in Berlin for a year, it just made me realize, like, you know what? New York City is a city. It is just a city, got tall buildings, is up there. It is just a city. And I was thinking when going before going to New York City, like, oh man, it's gonna be like the nostalgia, and then I'm gonna be there, and it's gonna be like, oh man, I'm back to it. I got there, I was like, huh, you know, New York City is a city. It had its purpose for me in my life, and it's there. It's about 7 to 8 hours away if I ever want to come back. But other than that, meh, like I didn't feel like I was missing out, if anything. It was even so much that I walked through the old neighborhood I used to live in for like the longest time, right? So I remember taking the train that the train I would usually take every time I used to come back from work to go home. Took that, went on the same street. I think I saw there's an old head that used to be around that neighborhood all the time. He was there. I when I saw him. Um, I'm walking down the neighborhood, some stores closed. The Rite Aid that used to be right there on not Chauncey, on Halsey closed. Just walking down, I was like, wow, I'm not really missing much. I went to the Jamaican spot that I used to go to all the time. The same lady was there. I don't think she even remembered me or even cared to remember. Ordered the same food and everything. And I remember I was just there. And I was like, huh, I'm not really missing out on much. I I know look, I know New York City is the best of the best. It has all you make it there, you make it anywhere type thing. But I was like, you know what? For now, I don't feel like I'm missing out on much. Like I visited family that lives in New York City, and I was like, yo, how things been? It's like, yo, same old, same old. I'm like, huh? I guess same old, same old. I guess things are different when you travel to different countries and you come back. The New York City looks different. So, I think that was probably like the biggest thing that happened for me was going back to New York City with this fear that I had about missing out on any of the things that are going on there, and realizing that I wasn't, and realizing that if anything, I was probably gaining more just visiting than for me staying there because of all the experiences that I've gone through so far. Get some water. Sorry. So that was an important thing in terms of like just going through that mental thing of like, oh man, I wonder if my jokes are gonna work in New York City, or how New York City have changed, and going back and it's just like, oh man. And then even going to visit people that last saw before moving to Berlin, because that just seeing like it was like a full circle moment. Like